So we'll start by removing the breast tissue, and afterwards we'll replace his nipples. Let's get going. Sometimes there's heavy bleeding. Tissues, please. More tissue, please. More tissue. Okay. Nothing unusual about that. Okay. We have clamps. Some more. Push. Hold it tight. Hold it tight there. Just let it let go. It's perfectly fine.
As one doctor gushed about how much the procedures bring in.
It's a lot of money. These surgeries make a lot of money. So female to male chest reconstruction can bring in $40,000. A patient just on routine hormone treatment, who I'm only seeing a few times a year, can bring in several $1,000s.
You know, Vanderbilt University, their medical school, and they're not the only ones that are doing this. There's definitely a money trail towards having these transgender patients as lifelong medical patients. What we're seeing with the medical companies, the medical device, and the pharmaceutical companies, when they can fund the activists and the NGOs to stir up a lot of passion, hey, we need this, we're suffering, we have gender dysphoria, we're gonna commit suicide if we don't transition, there's a demand then for it. And then the companies, the medical schools, the hospitals, they say, oh, well, look, all this demand, we have to have some emergency use authorization. We have to start doing research. We have to start doing this because it is a mental health crisis among our youth.
I've been a women's rights campaigner since I've been in my 20s. I've been working in the environmental movement for years. 2013 or so, I noticed in the activist communities that I was in that anybody acknowledging biological reality was being censored. And this was happening more and more.
The woman who is likely the world's best-known children's author is defending herself against growing accusations of transphobia.
They protested his classes, called him a Nazi, and labelled him transphobic.
Transphobic piece of shit! Transphobic piece of shit!
Dave Chappelle speaks out, and he's not backing down.
Even though the media frames this that it's me versus that community, this has nothing to do with them. It's about corporate interests and what I can say and what I cannot say.
This was very, very concerning. And so I started to look at why was this added to the LGBT, the T. Where did it come from? And if you're going to look for anything in this country, you're going to follow the money because it will always tell you the truth. Who's funding these LGBT organizations? And so what I found was a whole lot of very, very powerful, moneyed people in the highest echelons of finance, pharma, and technology. One of the first people I found was Jennifer Pritzker, part of the wealthiest families in America, the Pritzker family, who were massively invested in the techno-medical complex. The most probably important LGBT organization was Arcus Foundation. They were driving this gender identity ideology through all of our institutions with their money. And they created this whole political apparatus through these organizations by selling people basically on this being a human right as part of the LGB. They actually only became LGBT from like 2004 to 2006, and they all shifted. They all started to add the T. When you look at the powerful people behind this, the major corporations, major banks, international law firms, all our big technology companies, governments, politicians, at the highest echelons of Western societies, why are they all doing this?
To parents of transgender children, Affirming your child's identity is one of the most powerful things you can do to keep them safe and healthy.
Like, this is the most important question, really. Why are they all doing this simultaneously for a fraction of the population, like not even 1% of the population? It doesn't make rational sense.
Well, I mean, I think the biggest influence on why this is being infiltrated into my field and in the medical profession is money. And this is coming from top down. And then the propaganda and the messaging fools people to believe that what they're doing is kind and nice and helpful.
Human rights movements come from the ground up. They come up against corporate entities and governmental policies. They come from the people. This is all coming from the top of society. It's coming with great big gobs of money, millions and millions and millions of dollars being just funneled into all our institutions to drive this down into the culture.
The princess who came to your ball tonight was me. I don't want to do things just because that's the way they've always been done either.
We need to understand this isn't about helping people. This is about making money. There's a surgeon in California that makes around $1.5 million a year doing the surgeries. The presidents of these clinics have come out and said, we need to do this because it's so profitable. They never talk about how much harm is being caused and that it's causing 19 times more likely for you to commit suicide.
She used to cry. She couldn't sleep. She couldn't concentrate after, taking these hormones. She used to tell Mom, I can't handle this pain. It hurt, all my bones hurt. So, but in my head, I say why they are doing this, and they know that she's in pain. Why continue doing this to her?
It's a political agenda being worked out, and kids are sort of a test subject because you may have very large organizations, but there's a small group of people who are controlling these organizations, and they tend to be political. They 100% push affirmative care, and this was all done deliberately. They knew once they got it into the medical journals that all of the other organizations out there would follow, and that's exactly what they've done. Doctors won't speak out. Very few of us will speak out. You have very few psychologists or psychiatrists who are willing to speak out. There are some, but if you belong to a very large medical organization, they will threaten your job. Massive organizations around the country are suppressing what doctors might otherwise want to say.
So you have online hormone companies getting rounds of funding, $25 million. There's money to be made. It's a $1.5 billion industry for surgery alone. And I think that's an underestimate.
It was a while until I started questioning it, actually. It wasn't until my mastectomy that I started to realize that this really isn't the path that I should be on. As a teen, you tend to think you're invincible and that nothing bad will happen to you. The blockers, the testosterone, and eventually the surgery all ended up making me sick. It took away opportunities from me as an adult while I was still a child, and I'll never be the same. It's destroyed my health. I don't know if I'll ever be able to conceive a child. Put me on a path that has completely changed the trajectory of my life.
My chest is completely numb. Like, I can't feel most of it just because I've had 3 surgeries on my chest to add the implants, to remove the implants, and then to reconstruct my chest because The removal of the implants had left so much excess skin that it looked like I had gynecomastia. Left half of my body shakes on its own uncontrollably. I don't know what caused that, if it was the hormones, if it was the surgery. Besides that, other side effects, health issues, my genitals have atrophied, so I have really tiny genitals. Due to that, it's really hard to use the restroom.
Where are you? I can't do this without you. Please call me back.
She told me, Mom, I realized that no matter what I do, I'm never gonna be like my brother. I'm in pain. I can't sleep. I can't concentrate. It's not working the way that I thought.
But to detransition, there was nothing available. I had to walk in complete darkness alone with one therapist who was willing to help me, but at the same time scared of losing his license.
It's kind of assumed when these hormones are prescribed to trans people that they're going to stay on it for the rest of their life. None of the doctors I'd ever talked to said anything about this is what to do if you go off testosterone. I've gone to some dark places, but this was definitely the worst. I could barely get out of bed. It was a lot rougher than I thought it was going to be.
The process of detransition is definitely a lot harder than transitioning. I had no support from pretty much anybody. Even the doctors themselves, like my endocrinologist and my therapist, gender specialist, my surgeon, have been very unhelpful. My mental state was pretty much at its lowest. I often felt very suicidal. I didn't really know if I was gonna make it.
I received another phone call. I answered it, and this person asked me, "Are you Jaylee's mom?" and all these questions, and I say yes. I thought maybe they found my daughter. She asked me, "Are you driving?" You say, yes, I'm in the freeway driving. I'm going back home. When she asked me to park my car, I asked her, no, don't ask me to park my car or get out of the freeway.
No. It can't be her. I want to see her.
I'm sorry.
No! No!
Due to the circumstances, there's nothing that you can recognize. I'm so sorry.
I got out of the car and I was throwing up. And I didn't want to believe that my daughter was gone.
What a sob story! Medical station and she was born. Fucking cry about it! Okay. Hey!
Sadly, I don't have my daughter anymore. I'm here so the parents can be aware of what's going on and how these groups work.
We have what we call trans radical activists who will come and interrupt us. We don't hate them. We have sympathy for them. And we look upon them as maybe our own kids, even though we don't like the fact that they disrupt us and that they're cruel. As Abigail Martinez stood up there talking about the suicide of her daughter, you could hear one of them saying, "Cry more."
What a sob story!
But I was a point that I just broke down and I cried. I was able to understand that these people are confused, these people are in pain, and they don't want anyone to know the truth.
Trans rights are human rights! Trans rights are human rights! Trans rights are human rights!
Because like my daughter and any other kid going through this transition, they did it too. And that proves that they are not happy. But they need to put that face that they are happy, they are good, their life is different. But inside, I could tell that it's not the truth.
I knew I'd been living a lie, and I could not bear to live a lie identifying as a woman when I wasn't. And then I realized that anybody who's gone through this, it's the same thing. They never changed their gender. We're just masquerading. Every story that comes out about a detransitioner is hope for the next person who's struggling. Every one of them is a powerful story, important story that needs to be told, and every one of them is going to help another person find his way back. That's the hope.
I've realized that as long as you're physically healthy, there really is nothing wrong with your body. There's nothing that you have to change about yourself. And making a difference in your community is so much more important. I started connecting with women over a common experience that we had. And so I kind of had something to look up to. I had some hope and that things would get better from here. They were in the same boat that I was, and so they were learning to appreciate like their own experience of being female and femininity and things like that.
See you next time.
Seeing that kind of helped to guide me a little bit to doing the same for myself.
It took me about a year to fully deprogram from gender identity ideology. It was very difficult. I feel like it was the act of deprogramming, just changing my beliefs, that allowed me to recover from my depression. And it's been very healing having that family connection again. We can just like be together and love each other.
But I do hope to speak to legislators more to realize that this is not the rainbows and sunshines that I was promised, that other detransitioners were promised. So I am very hopeful that we are changing the minds of others and that eventually that we will be able to protect lots of young children and young adults from being hurt.
I think people just thought it was nice. They didn't realize just how harmful this was. This is going to be a dark time in our history, but I don't think this is going to last. And I think more and more people are going to step up. In fact, I only started talking about this publicly about a year ago, and there are so many more people out there speaking about it publicly, so many more detransitioners out there that aren't afraid to tell their story, and they're all finding each other. This is going to turn around. I see hope in the future.
We educate as much as we can. Part of our advocacy is to create a dialogue in reaching out to doctors who may be curious about the truth that's happening with gender.
Hey, did they send you a written consent form?
It's really interesting that they're willing to meet with us, and we call them listening sessions. They will sit and listen to stories of parents talking about their children and detransitioners. Hopefully we can start persuading them that gender affirmation model shouldn't be the one-size-fits-all.
I'm so proud of Aaron Friday and all these people who are trying to stop this. So my hope is to talk and to tell, the story so they be aware and more parents being aware. I know that nothing that I do is going to return my daughter, but at least my hope is to save other families, to go through what we went through.